Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's conference. At that time, you may press star 1 on your phone to ask a question. I would like to inform all parties that today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn the conference over to Kim Davis. Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you. I apologize, everyone. We are having a little technical issue there. Welcome, everyone, to today's Census Academy webinar. Thank you for joining us for today's session on the foreign-born populations. I want to remind everyone that we are recording today's webinar, and it will be available with the PowerPoint on Census Academy within the next couple of weeks. We will also have a Q&A session at the end, and because we have a large number of participants today, we ask the participants ask only one question and one follow-up question during the Q&A. We will not be able to address any of the 2020 census operation questions during today's presentation, but we ask that you refer to the 2020 census.gov website for details. At the end of today's event, we'll also be asking for your feedback through a short evaluation link that will pop up on your screen when you leave the event. We understand this is time-consuming. However, we utilize participation experience to improve and determine future Census Academy products. We encourage you to participate in this opportunity. I'd like to present today our speakers, Mr. Eric Coyle, who serves as a data dissemination specialist for the U.S. Census Bureau. He is responsible for building and maintaining relationships with stakeholders through the dissemination of census data and information. Mr. Coyle, primarily responsible for planning, coordinating, and implementing data dissemination and outreach. Our second speaker today is Alessandra Barker, a supervisor for the Data Dissemination and Training Program. She is also the co-founder and manager of Census Academy, the new digital hub of the Census Bureau for learning skills. Ms. Barker has been a part of the data dissemination program since its implementation in 2011. Previously, she served as a supervisory survey statistician, overseeing operations for the American Community Survey in Massachusetts and Puerto Rico. She also worked as a media specialist during the 2010 census, and she graduated from PUC Rio in Brazil with a bachelor's in communication and earned her master's of science in public affairs and international relationships from the University of Massachusetts, Boston. We welcome both of our presenters and thank you for sharing your expertise today. And the floor is yours, Alessandra.
Thank you, Kim. Can you guys hear me? I'm so excited to be conducting this webinar for you today. It has been a little while that we're working so hard in Census Academy to bring you all these great presenters, and today I have the honor of being a presenter as well. So in this webinar, I have with me my colleague Eric Coyle. Eric, do you want to say hi?
Hi, good afternoon or good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So Eric and I, we're going to talk today about how to access data about foreign-born populations and ancestry. So to start, I am having technical difficulties and can't get my screen to move. Oh, here we go. There's a little delay. Here we go. So before we start on the topic, I just want to make sure you all have some really important information. These webinars are offered by Census Academy. I hope you went to Census Academy to get into this webinar and also to see what we offer in terms of data jumping courses. But also be aware that we have a number of instructors like Eric Coyle and Kim who provide one-on-one webinars and presentations for your organizations at no cost. and we can also answer to data inquiries. So if you want to reach out to our program, the Data Dissemination Program, the email and the phone number on your screen right now, and we can also share that via chat with you. So let's start first reviewing what is the goal of our webinar. First, we want to make sure you have knowledge about the concepts and definitions that are used by the Census Bureau when producing data products about foreign-born populations and ancestry. Having this knowledge is really critical in order for you to access and be able to analyze our data. It's more technical, and it's a part of the webinar that I will take care of, but it's, again, really critical. It can be very complex and confusing if you're not familiar with this definitions and concepts. Next, and the next goal is to make sure that you can access, you're able to access on your own when you go back to your office, some key products, data products about foreign-born population ancestry groups. My goal and Eric's goal today is that we give you enough information and skills so you can replicate the work once you go back to your office, or if you're at your office right now. In terms of our outline, so this is how we're going to accomplish our goals. First, I'm just going to have a quick warm-up for us so we can get in the mood for to look at foreign-born ancestry data. After that, we're going to cover the technical portion of this webinar, which will be with me. We're going to go over what's available from the Census Bureau, basically which programs will provide you with information and data on foreign-born and ancestry. We're going to go over the definitions and the concepts. We're going to look at how often the data on these topics are released, and then if it's available for your area, which areas you can get. There are some limitations that's important to know. And after that, we will talk about more resources, and Eric will take over and will lead you through a journey on data.census.gov. And once we are there, we're not going to be reviewing, it's not going to be a tutorial of how to use data.census.gov. Our goal is to really show you how to get to foreign-born and ancestry data so you can replicate later. Okay? So we won't be reviewing detailed features, but just the features that are necessary for you to get the work done. And the reason why we need so much technical information, so for instance, when you're looking at the board here with some data, for instance, saying 13.7% of the U.S. population foreign-born, what do you know what foreign-born means? Where is this data coming from? What is the background? How is it collected? Who is included? Who is not? So all that information we want to share with you today. So you can look at the data and be able to tell a story about your community. So I have a warm-up for you, and you can see it on the screen, but I'm going to set it up as a poll. So hopefully you can all see it soon. It should be working. So once I open the poll, I want you to answer this question. You have about 30 seconds to do so. So here you go. The question is, what are the top 5 foreign-born population by country of birth in the U.S.? Here we go. I hope you can all click and get your answers in. There you go. I can see already some movement, people checking the responses. Okay, we have a few seconds remaining. Here you go. So about 34% of our group today answered that the correct response is A, which is Mexico, Philippines, India, China, and Cuba. So 34% said A, and then 33% said B, Mexico, India, China, Philippines, and El Salvador. So let's take right now a look at the right response. So number 1, Mexico. Number 2, India. Number 3, China, excluding Hong Kong and Taiwan. Number 4, Philippines. And last, El Salvador. So these are the 5 top foreign-born populations by country of birth, or in census language. You'll learn that it's really important, place of birth. And one thing to keep in mind here is when we are talking throughout this webinar about foreign-born, it's always related to place of birth. That's how we qualify them. They were born outside of the U.S., but if they're born outside of the U.S. American parents, then they are not foreign-born. Also, persons in Puerto Rico are citizens. They are not foreign-born. Just keep these things in mind. This data comes from table B5006. You'll see Eric covering this with you later. He will teach you how to get to this exact data that you are seeing right now on the screen. Okay. Let's start now with another resource that I love. This is called Measuring Race and Ethnicity Across the Decades. And even though we are talking about foreign-born and ancestry, I just wanted you to understand that over time and throughout our history, all those definitions and concepts have been intertwined. The way we collect data throughout the decade, which reflects here when it comes to race or nationality, ethnicity, all the definitions have changed over time. So I really encourage you to go to this resource, and this is a hyperlink. So when you get a PowerPoint presentation, you should be able to see it. And you will see, for instance, that the green category is what is now today called the Hispanic origin category. It started with just collecting data if you are Mexican or not, is the green category. And you can see throughout the history how that changed, how that evolved. For instance, why we started that around the 1930s, and even though Mexicans consider Hispanic origin, some people say, well, isn't that an ancestry or nationality? So we'll go over that. But around 1934, we started the Bracero program in this country. We're bringing Mexican immigrants to the U.S. to work in agriculture. So there was a need for collecting data on that population. So again, this is a resource, and we have a data gem about this data visualization, and you're going to get to see on that data gem Gina, our host today. She's the one explaining to us on the data gem how to use this resource. So take a look at that. Let's go back to the presentation and really dive in now into the technical part of this webinar. So in regards to the Census Bureau, let's cover a little bit about what we do. Well, everyone knows we conduct the census every 10 years. However, we are very busy every year, every month, conducting over 130 statistical programs. On the screen, we have only a few of them. And I'd like to highlight the American Community Survey as the program we're going to be looking at today. Why? Because when it comes to foreign-born and ancestry data, this is the source of data for you. You will find race and Hispanic origin data also available from several other programs. But in regards to, again, foreign-born and ancestry, American Community Survey is your source. That data was available when we had the 2000 census long form. That's a way to go back in time to look for foreign-born and ancestry data. And when it comes to the 2020 census, I want to show you what the questionnaire looks like. So we can also talk, there is a possibility we can have some tabulation coming out of the 2020 census in regards to nationality, ancestry, and foreign-born. So American Community Survey, again, is the program you're going to be listening about from now on, basically through the end of this presentation. Let's go over the difference so you better understand what we're talking about. So the 2020 census, it's 100% data, is a count. We're counting everyone in the country, and a point in time, who is living here on April 1st, whether you are just a newborn or you're a very elderly person, everyone is counted. And it's basically about how many people in housing units with a very few characteristics associated with that available from the 2020 census. That is available every 10 years. The American Community Survey is starting in 2005. It's the old 2000 census long form, because in 2000, we send that short form, which is the basic information to every household. But we also send a long form to 1 in every 6 households to ask about all that bread and butter information, including where were you born, so we could figure out how many people born at a different country live in the U.S. at that point. We ask about ancestry. So the 2000 census long form, like I said earlier, will provide that information to you. But starting in 2005, we collect the American Community Survey every month of every year. That is released once a year. We'll see that information later about how often you expect to get new data. But the data is released by period of time, so a 1-year estimate that we aggregate all the responses of 1 year. And then a 5-year estimate, we aggregate all the responses collected in this period of 5 years. And the goal of the American Community Survey is to give you characteristics of people. In terms of collection, with the American Community Survey and the census, we don't select people, we select housing units. So it doesn't matter if a person is a citizen, is not a citizen, the immigration status. Everyone is counted, and the same thing happens with the American Community Survey. Our sample is based on an address. We don't select people for the survey. We select an address, and everyone in that address is included in that questionnaire. So basically, no one, immigration status really doesn't matter when you are selected for the survey. Everyone is included in the data. Let's take a look at the 2020 census questionnaire. It's slightly different in terms of question 9 from 2010, and I'll tell you why. So when you look at question 8, we're asking about Hispanic origin, and that's what we just call ethnicity in census language. When we talk about ethnicity data or Hispanic origin data, we're talking about data that comes from question number 8, whether you are Hispanic or not, and then the detailed Hispanic group. And then we have question 9, which is the race question. So Hispanic origin and race are two different concepts when it comes to census data. And for the 2020 census, as you can see, we now have a write-in response box available below each category that was not available in 2010. So from these boxes, as you can see in the example, you could write an ancestry. You could say, I am Lebanese, I am German, I am Irish. You could do that with any of the categories for race. Again, Hispanics can be of any race, so they can select their race on question 9. One thing to keep in mind is the Census Bureau does not define race and ethnicity. The Office of Management and Budget established those standards and those definitions. We conduct a lot of research in best ways to ask questions, the most accurate way to collect the data. But ultimately, as a federal agency, we must follow the federal definitions. And that's what you see in every questionnaire when we collect data on ethnicity and race, foreign-born, and ancestry. Okay? Let's move on now to the ACS question so you can see why it's different, what is different. Oh, just one more thing I forgot to mention. So when it comes to question 9, all the writing responses, we do have permissions in the agency to publish the data, aggregated data of the writing responses, but we cannot at this point guarantee we will be publishing for every single group. And the reason for that is every response collected when aggregated has to go through a process to ensure first that no data can be linked to a person. So confidentiality is the first criteria. It has to meet our thresholds for confidentiality. If it does not, we cannot publish and make that available. And second is quality. So not until we collect the data, we process, and we have a process called now differential privacy. If it doesn't make through that process to ensure the data is safe and no one is at risk to ever being linked to a data, the data will not be published. That's why right now I cannot say, oh, yes, for sure, you're going to get a table on Irish population from 2020 census. Okay? You can write a response. The outcome and the tabulations, they'll become available from this question. It's going to pass through a process of review. Let's go into the ACS. So if someone is filling out the ACS, they're going to have to respond to question 8 and 9, just like in the census. Of course, they have different numbers there, but it's the same exactly race and Hispanic origin. What happens now with the ACS is we have extra questions, and the data we're going to see today when Eric does his demonstration of how to access using data.census.gov are originated from the questions you see on your screen. On the ACS, we ask, where was this person born? If you say that you were born outside of the United States, you are in the category foreign-born. If you say in the U.S., you are native. So you're going to see a really awesome table that compares foreign-born to native population that comes from this question. Question 7, cross with characteristics from many other questions on the ACS. 8, if this person is a citizen. As you can see, that's all we ask, whether you're a citizen or not. And then the year you enter the country, because we do have a variable about year of entry. You can also answer question 13, which is the ancestry, and you can really provide multiple answers here, and we tabulate, as Eric will show, as a single ancestry, multiple ancestry, or total ancestry. If you respond so many, we're going to assign you to all of those ancestries. Things to keep in mind, very important when getting into data.census.gov. Anything to do with foreign-born, born outside of the U.S. is based on country of birth, is the name of the country you wrote here. We call it place of birth. Anything to do with ancestry will come from this question, and it will be associated not necessarily with the country of birth because it's not related. It's associated with the response the respondent provided. Okay? Let's continue. I know there's a lot of information here, so hopefully when you get this PowerPoint, it will help you remember all that I'm saying. Can you guys hear me well? Okay.
Yes.
So let's,
yes.
Thank you. Let's look at the concepts across, like one next to each other. Race. I have some of the categories from the Office of Management and Budget right there. A person who is foreign-born can be of any race. A person who's native can be of any race, right? A person with any kind of ancestry can be of any race. So race, straightforward, you pick your race, and that we have data from the race categories you selected. Then we have Hispanic origin. You already saw in the Census Question 8 is also available in the ACS. Whether you're Hispanic or not, straightforward. If you're not, that's it. If yes, you are, then you can provide detailed groups. We can give you data for people who are Hispanic and what are the detailed groups. Now comes what we're interested today, foreign-born and ancestry. Foreign-born person can be of Hispanic origin, right? They can be born in El Salvador. It can be born in Dominican Republic. So it can be of any race as well, right? We can have a foreign-born white, black, Asian. It's based on place of birth. So when you have to search for the data, you type the name of the country. In regards to ancestry, you can have multiple ancestries. Again, a person of ancestry can be of any race, can be Hispanic, can be foreign-born, but also can be native-born. And you search based on like things like Russian, Brazilian, Bulgarian, Cape Verdean, Japanese, and all of that. When it comes to other topics available from the ACS, and I also have here the 2020 census topics, but from the ACS, I just highlighted in blue those that are more relevant for this webinar today. But knowing that if you look, for instance, at place of birth, you can have tabulation, so data products crossed with any other of these topics. It's a matter of learning how to search for them, which is a skill that Eric is going to show today. So for instance, if we want to know place of birth by income, he's going to show you a selected population profile that you can say how are the persons born in France, what is their median income. Things like that you can do with ACS data. So you can cross all these very neat variables and get really detailed tabulation. What becomes more challenging, and this is important to keep in mind, is even though you have so many interesting topics to work with and so many different groups to learn from, are the levels of geography. This data is not going to be published for every single area in the country because of the same criteria I mentioned earlier, confidentiality and quality. So we do have a lot of thresholds, and you bump into some of those as you try to access data. For instance, if you want to get a full profile by ancestry, you won't be able to get that below a state level, and sometimes the state or county. It's all based on the population of the particular ancestry. So let me explain that. I'm going to talk about my own, so I'm going to use my example all the time. That way when I'm calling anyone, I'm from Brazil, so I'm foreign-born from Brazil. My ancestry is Brazilian. So if I want to find a data profile about the Brazilian population, I'm only going to be able to see that full detailed profile for areas with more than 65,000 people. That's a threshold. So in this case, I'll see it for the U.S., I'll see it for Massachusetts and Florida, but no other state will be available. There's no other county that has more than 65,000 people of Brazilian ancestry. So the data will be suppressed to ensure confidentiality and also because of quality. So when we look at census geography, we have just a lot of different geographies we produce data for. Some are just regular geographies you learn in school, and some are for statistical purposes. For this particular webinar, I'm not going to extensively explain them, but I want you to remember that as you go down through this hierarchy, it becomes more granular in terms of area. The areas are smaller. Therefore, you're going to have more suppression of data. So if you cannot find a particular table, let's say for your town, for your city under places, you're going to have to bump up to the state level and sometimes the county level. So make sure you remember that it's not going to be available for everywhere. Most of the foreign-born general data is available down to census tract level. Eric is going to go more in detail and show you that. But when you go, again, you're going to detail groups, really individualize them instead of saying how many persons who are foreign-born live in my town. That data is likely not to be suppressed if you have a good number of foreign-born. But if you're looking at a specific foreign-born group, how many people born in Burmese are in my town? If you have 5, we're not going to give you that data. So this is something that's critical when you look at census geography and select them on data.census.gov. Start with the biggest level you're key of getting your data. Your chances are more likely to be successful, especially in national and state levels and some county levels. Another thing to keep in mind here is we have those statistical geographies that have really unique names. For instance, if you want to look at cities, you have to go to places. But if you're looking at townships are county subdivisions. You can also look at zip code tabulation areas for data by zip code, which is very limited when it comes to foreign born again and ancestry. And if you're interested in more information about census geography, because it can be really complex, but it's very critical, I know we have on Census Academy some great resources for you. So I'm just going to use this slide to remind you of those limitations. So a lot of the tables you see are for areas where the population you have as a universe has more than 65,000. Let me repeat this again and be clear. My town could have 70,000 people. It's not the size of the town, it's the size of your universe. If my universe are people born in Brazil, and even though my town has 70,000 people, but not 65,000 are not Brazilians, I'm not going to see the data. So again, it's limited by the size of your universe. So let me go to the next slide and try to help you with that as well. This applies across a lot of estimates for the ACS. So the Census Bureau basically produced from the ACS 3 major data sets or data products. It's the 1-year estimate, the 1-year supplemental, and the 5-year estimate. The 1-year estimate is available for areas with 65,000 people or more, or when it comes to a universe, 65,000 people more of that particular universe. And this is where you're going to find most of the data about detailed foreign-born ancestry groups. When it comes to just general foreign-born data ancestry, you're also able to go to areas as small, like as a tract level, which is optimum size 4,000 people. And that's the 5-year estimate. So you see Eric playing with estimates between 1 and 5 to show how that works. So keep that in mind. And again, ACS is released every year, like I said earlier. So stay tuned for the 1-year estimates coming out this September. And then we have the 1-year supplemental estimates for area between 20,000 and 64,000 people, and even above that in October 15. And then December 10th, you have the new 5-year estimates. And so now I'm going to pass this to my colleague, Eric Hoyle. Just before we go and you have a lot of fun with him, I know I took the hard part, the technical one. I'm not the fun person here. You enjoy Eric right now. But what we decided to do together, we wanted to give you these specific data products that you see on the screen. Over time, working with foreign-born and ancestry data, I find them to be the most helpful. Knowing how to get to each one of them makes you very successful in this system. And we provide you what we call table ID right after the name, because it's going to teach you a trick and how to just find them by a table ID. And by the way, we also have a data jam coming up in about 2 weeks about how to use table IDs to search for a table. But I'll pass it on to Eric, and you enjoy his demo right now on data.census.gov. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alexandra, for that very informative presentation. Yes, that was definitely the more technical stuff, and I know you as much as me love the hands-on stuff. So, but if you could go ahead and pass the ball over to me, and then I'll go ahead and share my desktop. So everyone will be able to see that here in just 1 second. Okay, I've got the ball. Let me go ahead and share my desktop with everyone. And hopefully y'all can hear me okay. If you can't, please let me know in the chat feature. I've never been accused of not being able to project, but okay, here we go. So let me see if I can get rid of that. Over there. Okay, so hopefully everyone should be able to see my desktop screen right now. We're all on census.gov. One of the first things I wanted to do before we jump over to data.census.gov so we can look at all those tables that Alexandra was mentioning in the presentation, these really incredible, robust tables on the foreign-born and ancestry and native-born population. I wanted to first just kind of give you an overview of where you can go on Census.gov to get more information on those particular topics. So one of the things that you can simply do is just go into our refreshed page. For those of you that haven't been on Census.gov in a long time, we have sort of refreshed it to where we have this really large search bar, kind of giving it more of a search engine feel to it. And you can go ahead and just type in something like foreign-born, and you'll see that drop down there. And so if I was to just go ahead and select that, I would get to a page filled with links within Census Bureau that I wouldn't otherwise be able to get through any of those search engines out there. And I can see, here we go, about the foreign-born population. So, of course, I could get even more information about that particular topic. You could do the same for Ancestry, for race, for Hispanic origin. If you just type those into our search, this is going to be your best place to go and look for more information in regard to the background of a particular topic. Okay, and then, of course, we do have the browse by topic, and you will see race listed there. But if you want to get to like foreign-born or Ancestry or Hispanic origin, you would have to click that A to Z, or like I said, even faster, just go ahead and type it into our search box there at the top of your page. Now, one of the other really quick ways that you can get to data on the foreign-born population is by simply going to either our Explore data, and you'll get a list of data tools, and you can find quick facts there, or just scroll down on our main page, and right in the middle there, you're going to find that quick facts banner that you can go ahead and click on. And this is just, I recommend this just for like getting like a basic number, a basic percentage in the event that you can't find it, via a particular search engine. We always recommend going to Census.gov and doing searches when it comes to data. And so here with quick facts, you can see you've got a bunch of different facts coming from many different sources. So if you want to know what that source of where that fact is coming from, simply click on that information icon, and you'll get that link telling you where that data is coming from. You can learn more about that particular program if you want to. As you scroll down, you'll find that you have a whole host of different facts available related to health, economy, education, business data as well. And then we're going to look in population characteristics under that particular topic. You're going to see the foreign-born variable there listed. Now, it's defaulting to the U.S., but the great thing about quick facts is I can type in any geography I want. So let's say I type in, something like New York. I can do New York City. I can even do the state. The quick facts allows you to compare up to 6 geographies of your choosing. You can also quickly go to a fact. So if I want to go to characteristics and simply click on foreign-born, it's going to highlight that fact right at the top there. And then, although I can't isolate a fact, I can go ahead and isolate a particular topic. There are some other features here, like mapping the data as well by selecting a particular geography, the same for chart. The dashboard is going to bring everything together for you. And then the More button is going to allow you to print, to download as a CSV, or share the tool onto social media, or even embed the tool into your own website if you'd like. So it's a neat, really cool, easy tool to use, not too complicated. Keep in mind the caveat that it is only for states, counties, and cities and towns with a population of 5,000 or more, as it states. So this is a really just useful, quick, easy tool. Like I said, it's not going to get you any more of the detailed data that we're going to be looking at in data.census.gov, but a good place to start. So I'm going to go ahead and click my logo here on the top left corner for Census Bureau. And that's always going to take you back to the home page, okay? So now that I'm back in the home page, I do want to take you to another really quick, easy way where you can get what we refer to as our data profiles. I know Alexandra mentioned one of those tables we'll be looking at. The data profile is also another really robust table to get a lot of information for geographies down to the census tract level, which is a really great geography that goes well below your zip code level. Most people aren't familiar with. So under Surveys and Programs, you'll find that link for the American Community Survey. You click there, and that takes you to the ACS page. Now, if you've never received the American Community Survey, you're not too familiar with it, you want to learn more, I highly recommend clicking on About the Survey. You can actually download a copy of the ACS form itself in English and in Spanish, look at the form for every single year since it was implemented in 2005. So lots of great information, methodology, sample size, sample response rates are going to be in your methodology. You also have technical documentation. So this is a very completely transparent survey that you can learn more about through this page. Additionally, we have a link here where we see data. So when I click on that data link right there, I get to the page where it says data, tables, and tools. And now you're going to see where I've got data profiles, narrative profiles, and subject tables. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and focus on these data profiles because these are really great, as I mentioned, really robust tables. Now, within the data profile selection tool from the ACS page, you are limited. Because these data profiles actually go down to the census tract, so you can get them for a lot more geographies than what you see here. You can get them for zip code tabulation areas. It is at least going to give you some pretty important geographies, of course, nation, state, county, and place. Place referring to all cities and towns. So from here, let's say I just want to go ahead and start off with nation. I can go ahead, or if you want to select state, you just get a list. If you selected county, it would tell you to go ahead. I'll start with Texas here, and then go ahead and get my data profile link. Now below that, you're going to see your 4 data profiles. These are the 4 that we produce. Social characteristics, economic characteristics, housing characteristics, and demographic characteristics. So demographic, that's going to be your age, race, sex, ethnicity, housing unit, voting age, population. A lot of different housing characteristics will be there, economic, social characteristics, good place to go to find out basically all the topics that we have for the American Community Survey that you can get more data for. So under social characteristics, when I click there, now I'm going to get shot over to the data.census.gov platform. Now, the future integration will be, integration of this tool will be in the census.gov. Right now, it is a separate platform. On the bottom left here, you're going to see the send feedback button, website.feedback@census.gov. We highly encourage you as data users out there to please, navigate this tool, this platform, and share that feedback with us. This tool is only going to improve, or not only going to improve, but it's definitely going to improve based on not just our experts at the Census Bureau, but also from the data users actually using this tool and navigating through it and finding, what do they like, what do they dislike, where do they want to see improvements, suggestions. Any feedback you want to share with us, all of it is welcome, and we appreciate it. So please help us to build this platform to make it the best it can be by sending feedback. If you want to go ahead and remove that, just click that X and it disappears. Now, in the social characteristics DP2, if you scroll down, you're going to find under all these other great topics that you can look at: veteran status, disability, residency, place of birth. So there we go. There's our place of birth, total population. There's our native, our born in the United States, state of residence, different state, born in Puerto Rico, and there's your foreign-born population as well. You also have U.S. citizenship status for foreign-born population, naturalized U.S., not a U.S. citizen. You also have year of entry. You have world region of birth of foreign-born population, from different regions in the world. And then you also have languages spoken at home. Only a few. I'll show you a table that has a lot more languages spoken at home. And then you even have the Ancestry data right there. So as I mentioned, these data profiles are really filled with a ton of information. And they are available down to the tract level. So if you want to get down below that zip code level, that census tract is a great geography to look at. It's more of what we refer to kind of like a neighborhood level geography. And then at the very bottom, you've got that computer internet use, right? So keep in mind, because we are looking at a data profile that was linked from the ACS, it automatically defaulted to the 5-year data profile estimate. And that is the 5-year estimate is what's going to allow you to get down to the smaller level geographies that don't have 65,000 population sizes like the 1-year threshold requires to get those 1-year estimates. But I can change this because I know for Texas, the state of Texas, we clearly do have, and it won't let me actually change it here. So let me go ahead from here and take us into the home page of data.census.gov. Just by clicking the logo, same as we did on census.gov, when you click that logo, it takes you right back to that home page. So for data.census.gov, the same applies. And so for here, what I want to do now is go ahead and show you the foreign-born and Ancestry and how you can get to that DP2, not just from the ACS, but really quickly from our data.census.gov page. And you can do it for any state. So here, if I type in, let's say, DP2, and instead of Texas, I'll type in Florida and click search, I'm going to see my selected population, selected social characteristics DP2 table right off the bat. Additionally, I'm going to see that Florida profile. I could type in, instead of Florida, if I wanted to, let's say, in Florida and go to Tampa, let's go to Tampa instead. And now I've got a Tampa City, Florida profile I can select. There's other related searches here. If I click on View All Tables, I'm going to see that Tampa City, Florida. Scroll down, and there's my same information I got for the state of Texas. And here now, because of the population, I've got the 1 year, and because I did the search originally from the data.census.gov, you can see that now I've got the ability to go through multiple data sets and multiple vintages. So you can see that there's a lot of great functionality there. It's really easy to get to these tables from data.census.gov. So let's go back to our home page. And the next thing I want to show you is the foreign-born versus native-born table, which is a very popular table. So I'm going to go ahead and type in foreign-born. And the way that we're designing, as you notice, it kind of the AI here is actually trying to tell you, kind of guess what you're trying to say the same way a search engine would. So it's kind of familiarizing itself like that. And so you've got, I just typed in foreign, and I've got foreign-born, and I've got native and foreign-born. And then I've got some other tables that I could select. So I could go right to my selected characteristics, but I'm going to go ahead and select native and foreign-born. And doing that, it's going to give me that sort of foreign-born estimate right off the bat. And I can click on that and explore more data there. Additionally, I'm going to look at, I've got the DP2 there, I just showed you before. And then if I scroll down, I'm going to see, I've got these other sort of tables I can look at, but I've got this selected characteristics of native and foreign-born populations, that S0501. And the reason why you notice we're naming tables, and in the presentation some tables where I identify these table IDs, because when you become a super data nerd, like the data dissemination staff, we often refer to tables by table IDs. S1701 is a poverty table we're all very familiar with. So the great thing about data.census.gov is you can actually search by table ID. So if I just go ahead and go to the main page again and just type in S0501, it's going to pop up right there and search. All right, and then I can just get that one table I'm interested in. And so here it's going to default for the U.S., total, native, foreign-born. If I scroll this bar at the bottom here across, you're going to see foreign-born, naturalized citizen, foreign-born, not a U.S. citizen. You have the estimates with a margin of error. Now, another cool feature within data.census.gov is that you can actually you can bring these in, you can slide these out in terms of the column width right from the main page. You can also move these directly over here. So if I want foreign-born in front and I want to put native in front of total, I can do that. I can just slide these across. Now, to get a full view of this table, go ahead and just select that Customize Table option here at the top right. And that's going to give you sort of this kind of overall picture of that same table. Now, from here, you can do a lot of fun stuff. I'm not going to get into all the different features. This is not a data.census.gov lesson. For that, I would recommend future webinars or looking at some of our recorded webinars on data.census.gov, specifically showing you how to utilize all these various features. But for now, you can see that we can do things like just simply change our geography. If I wanted to add a state, I can do all states, or I can select something like California and close. And now it's going to change that to California simply, right? And again, I can go ahead and move these columns around and change the width. What I would tell you is that keep in mind, if you start to change geographies to a lower level than that population threshold of 65,000, you're going to want to go ahead and change that product to a 5-year estimate. Okay, that will allow you then to get down to those further geographies to change that. So just keep that in mind. Always know which data set you're looking at. Otherwise, you're going to be limited in your geographic selection. Okay. Additionally, I will also mention that if you want to take this table and sort of get the look of it downloaded the way that it looks now, the best way to do that is going to be to use a click in the table first and then do a Control-A to highlight the entire table, or do a Command-A if you're on a Mac, and then right-click and use Copy with Headers, and that's going to take everything, or you can just copy just the cells if you don't want the headers, but Copy with Headers, paste that into an Excel spreadsheet, and that is going to give you the same look that you're looking at now. Also, if you modify the table, however you modify it, that's going to be important to use that feature as well, because if you modify your table and you move columns around, you're not going to be able to get the same look when you download it. Okay, so keep that in mind. Just a friendly tip for you there. You can, of course, right-click and export to CSV or Excel, but it's going to be a different look than if you just hit Copy with Headers and paste into an Excel document. There's a great data gem on how to do just that. I recommend it. So getting back to our home page again, I'm going to move on to our next table to make sure we still have time for questions and answers. And I want to look at the place of birth for the foreign-born population. And this is the table that Alexander used to create that really great graph that everyone had to guess where the top 5 foreign-born populations what are the top 5 foreign-born populations in the U.S. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and simply go to Advanced Search now. And here I'm going to scroll down a little bit so I can see this better. And under Topics, I'm going to go ahead and select the population and people, okay, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the foreign-born population. If we want to look up Ancestry, that's going to be listed there as well. But for our places here, I'm going to go ahead and select the foreign-born population. After Topics again, populations and people. And then you're going to see native and foreign-born populations. All right, so here I'm going to then select place of birth. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to check that box. Notice that in this selection process, you have some selection topics that don't have any boxes here in the topics, and then those that in this selection list you do have some boxes and don't. Those that do not have boxes mean that you can click on them and go to select further topics, like here. Under native and foreign-born, there's no box next to foreign-born. So if I click there, I'm going to get more options, right? But I've already selected place of birth, so that's pretty much going to rule these other options out. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and click Search. And now, as you can see, it's going to automatically default to give me the list of the selected characteristics from the foreign-born population by region to include Europe, Africa, North America, Oceania, Asia, Latin America, workplace geography by specific status. But here, kind of getting to near the bottom of the list, you're going to see this B05006 table. And that's what we're going to click on. And this is the exact table that was used to create that graph. So you can see now we're looking at, for the U.S., from the 2018, and we can change those vintages if we wanted to there from that product listing, right? And we can look at exactly for the U.S. that place of birth for the foreign-born population. Just that easy. So next, the next table I want to show you, and again, this will be recorded so you can go back. If I'm going a little too fast, I want to make sure we do have enough time for a few questions. So I do want to make sure that we get through showing you how to get to these tables so that when the recording is there, you can go through the recording and slow it down at your leisure. So the next table is going to be the languages spoken at home I want to show you. and the languages spoken at home, I can do a couple of things. I can go to the advanced search again to look up languages spoken at home under topic, or I can simply type in languages, helps if you type correctly, and usually you get a languages spoken. I'm just going to click that. So language other than English spoken at home, right? And I just put languages spoken. That's all I typed in. And so here, if I scroll down, I'm going to be looking for this B16001 table right here for populations of 5 and over. And so what that's going to do is give me this really robust table where I can see the most languages spoken at home for the population of 5 years and older in this particular table, right? So here you can see you've got French, Haitian, Italian, Russian, etc. And that's just for the U.S. I can, once again, change my vintages if I want to. Now, to change geography from here without going into that customized table, all I'd have to do is go ahead and select Filter, right? And from here, when I click on Geography, I can go ahead and do all states in the U.S. if I wanted to do that. And then just when you click that Hide button, what happens now is I've got all the states, right? So just like that. So that's another really great, important table to share with you all. Okay, and then let me go ahead and go back again to our homepage, click that logo. And the next tip I want to share is the selected profile of individual foreign-born groups. So for this process, I do want to go to Advanced Search. And under Topics, I want to go ahead and select the people population. So if you get something here where it may has already kind of preset, you can always just refresh the page, and that'll just ensure that any selections you've made previously are definitely removed. And now I'm going to go ahead and start from scratch again to Topics, Populations, and People, and then go to the Native and Foreign-born. And now I'm going to go ahead and select this foreign-born that I saw before. And you'll notice because I didn't select place of birth, now I have the ability to actually go into other sort of geographies, other sort of regions. So now instead I can go to Americas, and for example, I can select Central, Latin, North America, or South America. And I'm going to select South America, and because we have our native Brazilian presenting, and I think it only right that we select Brazil as far as our population, our selected profile of individual foreign groups here. So I'm going to go ahead and select Brazil. It's in my selected filters here at the bottom, and click Search. And now for this particular topic, I'm going to go ahead and view this table. And there you go. Now I can see that the Brazil is showing for the select population profile. So this is the foreign-born select population of individual foreign-born groups, right? So these are people foreign-born Brazil, okay, that I've selected. This is not the same as Ancestry. That is a different table. This is the foreign-born population, right, as a selected group. So keep that in mind. So that's just showing you quickly how you can get that information here, and you can look and see just how robust this table is, similar to our social characteristic table you saw before that had all that other information, robust information. So now you can see you've got a lot of great data there just for that population born in Brazil. Okay, and then getting to the last couple of examples I also want to show you. We, of course, want to get to Ancestry. So once again, I can go ahead and select Advanced Search and go to Topic and select Ancestry, or I can type in Ancestry here. And this is what I would recommend just as because when you type Ancestry here, you're going to actually get the option where you could select Ancestry, and that is actually going to give you the same listing, right? Or you can just simply go directly to single, multiple, or people reporting Ancestry as well. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to show you the full list here. If I click on Ancestry, and there you go. So we've got the single, multiple, and people reporting Ancestry. And so I'm going to click on that B04 And now for Ancestry, we can actually, once again, change our vintage. I'm going to change this to 5-year and filter. And something like Ancestry, you can get down to some pretty low levels of geography. So as an example, I'll click geography, and instead of, tract or any of those, I'm going to go ahead and select place for those cities and towns. I can then select Nevada, and I can do all places in Nevada. Click that hide button here again, and that's going to go ahead and make that selection, right? So this is the Ancestry for all the cities and towns that we have in Nevada. And if I scroll further down, and right now we know it's an issue with the API where we're not getting everything in alphabetical order, so you might want to go to, customize that table, or I would just simply copy and paste it, and then you can sort it pretty easy in Excel to get it to be more alphabetical. And under Las Vegas City here, you can see these top foreign-born, or these Ancestry populations related to, let's say, Germany, Irish, Italian, seeing those as sort of the top ones, along with, of course, American Ancestry there. And even I think we saw English as being another one there with 10,000 people reporting that as an Ancestry. And then so the last table, before we run out of time here, I do want to show you the selected profile of individual Ancestry groups. And this is another really important table. So for here, I want to do advanced search again. And I'm going to just refresh because I want to make sure I've got nothing that's going to hang back from my previous searches. And I'm going to go to topics. And I want to go ahead and select pop and people again, populations and people. And here we've got Ancestry right there where I can go ahead and select Ancestry. And now I can actually make a specific selection of Ancestry. All right, so I can go ahead and select, let's see if I scroll down here. Once again, we'll use Brazilian as our example. Why not? And then you're going to see these different tables, and the one I'm going to recommend here is this S0201 table again, but now you're going to look at Ancestry. So notice the slight change in the way it says, instead of Brazil, it says Brazilian. So the foreign-born population table had Brazil listed. Now you see Brazilian, and that's going to be your clue that this is an Ancestry table, and it's also giving you that code, 360, 364. But these selected population tables, you'll notice, will give you a lot of that same great information that we can look at from the same sort of content we saw in the social characteristics. So I know we're just out of time. I'll leave it up to our host, Alexander, if she wants to lead over the time frame for a few questions and answers, maybe a couple we can answer, or some in chat that haven't already been addressed. So with that, Alexander, I'm going to pass the baton back over to you.
This is Kim, your host. Thank you, Eric and Alexander, for presenting. A few things that have come up in the chat are questions about the ACS and the ACS data releases and the production of the aggregation. Could one of you explain a little bit more in detail the difference between the 1-year ACS, the 5-year ACS, and when they are released?
Yes, I will go more in detail. I didn't want to expand too much of your presentation because we only had 1 hour. So the 1-year estimates, think of this way. Every questionnaire that was responded during the period of 1 year, January through December, those were all aggregated to create the data for 1-year estimate, and those estimates are released every year in September. So again, ACS is a nonstop survey. The data is collected every month, and then by the end of the year period, all of the responses make up the 1-year estimate. So basically, our statisticians look at that 1-year estimate, and the data is good enough for areas with more than 65,000 people. That's a 1-year estimate. We continue collection. Again, collection is non-stopping. So then we're going to get all responses from the 5-year period, not each individual year. So we don't aggregate 1 year, year 2, year 3, year 4. No, it's every single response that was provided between the January of the year 1 through the December of year 5. All of those questionnaires are then pulled together to create the 5-year estimates. Even though they're called 5-year estimates, they are also released every in December because as soon as we released the first batch, which was 05-10, we always had a way to release 5 years in December. We just removed the oldest year by adding the newest year. So you see that some of these overlap years, and they therefore are not comparable. So if you want to compare 5-year estimates, you always need to make sure that you get set of 5 years that don't have overlapping years in them. I hope this clarifies.
Thank you. That was very clear, and I appreciate you answering that. And we are over the hour, so we will be closing today's session. I apologize for those that called in and did not get their questions answered. You're more than welcome to follow up with us with the email or the phone number listed in the chat for Ask Data, and that is census.askdata@census.gov, or you can call 844-ASK-DATA. Thank you for participating with us today, and thank you to Eric and Alessandra, our presenters, for the wonderful information you shared today. We hope that you join us for our next Census Academy webinar, September 15th, a brief history of the census 1790 through 2020. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your day.